Welcome to another episode of My Brothers Video Podcast. I am your host, Eric the Fact Checker, and I'm here with my brothers today. What's up, brothers?
What's up? What up?
Word. Listen, we are here today to talk to you about racism, prejudice, and discrimination. Is a heavy topic today, but before we do so, listen, we're going to check in with the brothers. And before we do that, I want you to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We are 25 subscribers away. Last week, we talked about being at 34 subscribers away. So I thank you all who subscribed to the channel. We down to 25. So that makes it 9 people subscribed since last week. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. We want you to know that. With that, let me go ahead and check in with the brothers. Brothers, how y'all doing? Old Soul, we're going to start with you, brother. What's going on?
Not much. Chilling, bro. You know, I had a good weekend. Had a long weekend. Saturday, I had to get up 5:30 in the morning to do some painting in the living room and dining room. Let's just say I am retired from painting. My daughter-in-law and my son came over in the afternoon to give me help. She actually finished the painting without any paint tape. So she has a gift. I knew she was an artist, but I didn't know she could just paint houses and stuff like that.
And why you had to get up at 5:30 in the morning?
Because I need to get into that frame of painting to get it early. I had a dining room and I had a living room and I had to go up the hallway. So I need to get an early start. I'm just saying.
Look. How long were you painting for?
By the time I was done and the next shift came over, I'm going to say it was around like 1 o'clock.
Oh Lord! And you was up at 5:30? Wait, you finished and it wasn't done?
No. Let me go back.
Okay.
The living room was done. Okay. The living room was done. The only thing and going up the steps was done.
Right. The
only thing that was left was the dining room.
Okay.
I'm saying that was it. But regardless, I have painted my house, about 90% of my house. We've been here for about 25 years. I've been the only one painting. So at this point, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm going to pay somebody to do it.
You know, interesting. I was about to talk about your painting, but since you said you painted and I've been in your home before, it looks pretty good. So, all right, you got some.
Thank you, Fact Checker.
I got one question for the Old Soul.
Yeah.
Was that a request made by your wife to do, or that's something you said I'm going to do?
I'll give you the story. We had contractors working on it. The plan was not to do it till the spring. Mm-hmm. But when the contractors got finished doing what they did and messed it up, it had to be painted. So I had to force myself to get up and do it.
Wait, you paid contractors to paint?
Huh?
You paid contractors to paint and they messed it up?
No, we paid contractors to put in ceiling, and they did that. They did some framework. They did some other things, put some light fixtures in and everything like that. Right. And once they were done, they had got some paint and stuff like that from the sheetrock and all that on the wall, so it had to get done.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Early bird catches the worm. That's what my father always taught me.
Let me tell you something, bro. Nah, early bird don't catch the worm 5:30 in the morning painting, bro. It's the slow.
It got done.
It's a slow person. They need a lot of.
Well, let me just add though.
It got done.
You're telling me that you had people that don't live in your house come to your house to paint in the midst of a pandemic. Is that what you're saying?
They're a small.
Is it a yes or no?
You want to let me ask a question?
No, it's either yes or no.
You want to let me ask a question?
Problem, sir.
It's a small circle. It's a circle of family.
That's not what I asked you.
It surely ain't what you asked him, boy.
That's not what I asked you.
I swear to
So
goodness.
the answer to the question is yes.
Wait a minute. Is this checking or is this about me? Now it's about me and painting?
Yeah, of course.
You got them arthritic hands. You know
it
damn
got
well.
It got done and it looks good.
You're just cheap.
It got done.
Oh, Lord. Hey,
even
painting.
with arthritis.
Let me explain something to you. Painting is a hard-ass job.
Yeah. Say it again.
Look, oh, no, it's a hard job. Listen, there's 2 people I pay. Okay, there's 3 people I pay. Painters, electricians, and plumbers. That's it. Because I'm going to tell you right now.
Landscaping, too.
Yeah, landscaping, I can get out there and push it down. But painting, bro, you can go through some paint, and you just be like, what the? I stayed up 24 hours one day trying to paint a room red, and sure enough, it
did. Did you have to use painter's tape? Did you ever use painter's
Bro,
tape?
and the stuff dripped through the painter's tape, bro. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. There's special techniques. Now I got a painter and I
Yeah.
watched him. You put some stuff on the paint tape. You kind of like it. Listen, any kid,
Was that
anyway,
in
when you peel it off, the paint was peeling away. I'm like, what the heck?
Was that in the middle of a pandemic?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Just
no.
making sure.
I painted my garage though. Tesla red.
I was asking.
Yeah. Hey, Baller, how you doing, bro?
Good, man. I'm good.
God damn, hold on, crooner. I said, Baller, how you doing?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm a baller, man. Shit. Don't I do it all the time?
All the time. All the time. God is good.
That's
Come
your future,
on.
bro.
That's right.
B,
Right.
that's your future.
That's right.
Baller, how are you doing?
Yo, I had a good weekend. I had a little a decline. Had a game yesterday. Lost in double overtime by one. And you know, I gotta say, and I usually don't. I usually play through that cheating ref. Come to find out, the guy that I was defending, the ref was his cousin. So the 4 times I got fouled, not called. The time I fouled him, I fouled him. A little ticky-tack foul, but he called it. Like I said, found out it was his cousin. And I'm like, okay, that's how we play.
Oh, Lord.
It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, who'd y'all play against?
Same league I've been playing in on Sundays.
No, but is it a specific team that you go up against or what?
Well,
Like team names? Don't y'all got a team name or no?
No.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
actually no team name. It's just this guy is just a guy named Jordan. He's the captain of this team.
Yep.
A guy named Rick on my team is the captain.
Gotcha.
So it just goes by that. There's no specific name per se. Team.
So
name.
run it down for us, brother. How many points did you have?
And you know what? Because I know you will kind of ask me this every week.
Every week?
I had 18 points this time.
Yeah, all right, brother. How many of those 18 points were 3-pointers?
I think maybe like 3.
I was about to roll my ass out the door today and go to the court, bro. But then I was gonna play the video of my wife showing me how I be walking in. You know what I mean? We had like one hit, like, oh Lord, going after the basketball don't quite work that way. Cool. Anything else though? You do anything else this weekend?
No, I mean after that, I just kind of watched some Sorry Eagles. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess because I'm a sports guy, I play sports, but if I only play football recreational,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but if you get consistency of failure, something has to change. Either the management or the players. Has to be something. It can't be the same excuse every freaking week. Me as a player on the team, I ain't gonna want to hear that. I in the locker room, I'm gonna call somebody out. I'm gonna say what it is. You know, if I'm not a rookie. If I got clout on the team, I'm gonna say A, B, and C.
I'm sorry to laugh, man. Donald got his stinky ass feet up in the camera. Lord at first.
I gotta call a spade a spade. I gotta call a spade a spade.
Yeah, no, listen, that's all right. So, hey, Donald, let's swing on over to you, brother. How was your weekend?
Yo, had a good weekend. You know, this is a typical pandemic weekend.
Yeah.
Stayed in, you know what I mean? Wasn't outside, wasn't painting no houses, wasn't playing basketball, none of that. So the wife and I have watching a TV show called The Last Kingdom. Like I've already watched
It's
it.
a good show, bro.
We've been spending some time. So we got a little bonding action going on, you know, because of the pandemic.
Yep.
And we went to church on Sunday. I went to church on Sunday, had a great service. And here we are waiting to talk about this very, very heavy topic. You know, we really got to get comedian back on pace, right? Because he's the one that adds that levity.
That levity.
To these heavy topics. But
yeah,
anyway.
no, you know how you be tossing a joke here and there.
Yeah.
Definitely be putting this thing in for show. We missing the Marina Comedy who's over in Georgia. Shout out to the Marina Comedy doing this thing and putting this thing down in Georgia. Hey, Marina Comedy, be out there, baby. Get that word out. Tell people, knock on doors. We need the Georgians to vote. just like our topic last week. Hey, Crooner, aka Baller, how you doing, bro? You wasn't smiling. You just be looking like, hey, you looking. What's up, bro? I ain't seen you in a while. Thank you for the barber reference. I done got my
Corey
doo-doo.
hooked you up. Had a good weekend, man. You know, we got our house painted about. We didn't pay. We just paid for it. We got our house painted about a month ago, and they just started putting everything back together. You know, as far as wife hanging up pictures and all that kind of stuff.
Where did you get your painters from?
Contractor. We got called contractors. You know.
Hey. Hold on a moment.
I know
we
we
about to have a topic. We about to have a conversation about racism, prejudice, and discrimination.
Yes. It was
stereotyping.
It was a company. We got it from a company. You know.
There you go. Yeah. From now on, that's what you say. We got it from a company.
And, let's just say that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, the company was Home Depot.
No, we're called Depot.
Hey, Baller, you need to cut it out. Motherfucker. I tell you. Go ahead, Crooner. He's starting trouble. Go ahead, Crooner.
No, that was good, man. It was good. You know, that's all I did. I helped put some stuff back together, and my daughter made some stew from scratch. Boy, that stuff was good.
I heard you, bro. What'd you call it? A complaint compliment?
Yeah, because I'm like, I want some more shit.
He just complained that she ain't making
enough. My
enough.
brother-in-law come over and my father-in-law come over and my son. I'm like, damn, what are leftovers? You know, so you gotta make some more.
So you two are part of the problem? Okay, just making sure we get it all out there.
Hey, on the people they had over, right?
What nationality were your painters? I'm just curious.
So let me go ahead and tell y'all. Hold on. Pause for the cause. Pause for the cause.
And check this out. You know, I'm glad you said it because they made their own. It was cool the way they did it. They set up little screens. You know, they kept themselves in a little bubble. I said, cool, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And I stayed upstairs.
Donald trying to start trouble. So my weekend, I don't remember how my weekend was. I'm getting old and senile. Like I'm starting to lose my memory. I didn't do much. I cleaned the pool. I put a shelf up in the pantry for my wife. She's been asking me to put a shelf up. My wife is ghetto, bro. Listen, my wife is ghetto, right? Listen, we got, your pantry and it's white in there and everything. And I'm like, she's like, listen, can you put the shelf up? And I'm like, yeah. So I put the shelf up, I figured out, I put it up because she bought me some new tools so I could do the work around the goddamn house. And so I put the shelf up in the pantry and it's like wood, right? It's cedar wood. I'm like, baby, we need to paint it. No, we don't. I'm like, but look, like it's just standing out. That's okay. It works. I'm like, nah, we just got to paint it though. So now I got to go paint the thing. She would leave it as is, but I want it to be, what I mean? When you walk in there, I want it to be like nice, right? Natural. So I put a shelf up and then that's it. I watched the movie. I watched La Revolution. Have you seen that? It's a new, it's like a zombie British movie. During, I guess, maybe, I don't know, the 1860s or so. No, nobody heard of it?
I've heard of it. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
I want you to send a ticket to Carl. He can come out and paint for you. That's his second profession, painter.
Hey,
since he doesn't mind COVID traveling, we all family. Get your ass on a plane.
Look, nah. So that was my weekend. I didn't do much. I did that. Played around a little bit with LinkedIn, working on my eyeforsuccess.org career coaching. Sent out a video, my first video out on LinkedIn. Every week, I'm going to send a video out on every Tuesday, just a quick tip of the day on different items like resume writing, interview preps, etc. Trying to lock down some candidates. And that's about it. So, cool. Listen, let's jump into it, fellas. I want to get into this topic here. I know it's heavy, as I mentioned before. Racism, prejudice, and discrimination. And I wanted to start out. Some of the goals here I figured was let's define racism first. Let's start with that. And then maybe talk about some personal experiences you might have with racism. There was a question, we all talked about this. We talked about what are some of the different topics we could talk about just over the next couple of weeks. or months as we do our podcast. And so one question was, can Black people be racist? We're going to talk about that. Is there racism amongst ourselves within the Black community? And then what can be done to thwart racism, prejudice, and discrimination? So that's kind of where I want to start and wanted to talk with you all about that. I'm going to go ahead and read off some descriptions to you as we get into this here. I'm going to read off the description of prejudice, the description of discrimination, and then racism. And then let's talk about those topics. Cool? So prejudice refers to irrational or unjustifiable negative emotions or evaluations towards persons from other social groups. And it is the primary determinant of discriminatory behavior. And by the way, I gathered this information from the National Association of School of Psychologists in an article they put together. The discrimination is defined as inappropriate treatment of people because of their actual or perceived group membership, and may include both overt and covert behaviors, including microaggressions or indirect or subtle behaviors. Like microaggressions would be something like, you know, you walking down the street, a bunch of brothers walking down the street, a white woman's walking down the street and she crosses the street. Microaggression, right? She clutches her purse as we walk by. Microaggression. Racism refers to prejudice or discrimination against individuals or groups based on beliefs about one's own racial superiority or belief that race reflects inherent differences in attributes and capabilities. Racism is the basis for social stratification and differential treatment that advantage the dominant group. It can take many forms, including explicit racial prejudice and discrimination by individuals and institutions. So, for example, we have the Jim Crow, right? Jim Crow was what you would consider explicit racial behavior. That's where state and local laws passed during the end of Reconstruction through the mid-1950s, where white Southerners basically asserted their dominance by denying African Americans social, economic, and civil rights, such as the right to vote, right? And so when we talk about also another form of inequality would be racism can also take the form of unconscious beliefs, stereotypes, baller, stereotypes, and attitudes toward racial groups in the form of implicit bias, right? Or what we would call unconscious bias, things we do, you know, not really aware of, right? Other forms of racism are modern symbolic racism, in which individuals deny continued existence of racial inequality while contributing to discrimination, and adversive racism through group favoritism or dominant racial group. That's a lot of information, right? But I want to focus on just kind of a few things, right? We talked about, have you ever experienced, and I want to go through this section by section, but prejudice. Let's start with prejudice. What do you think when we think about the definition? Irrational, unjustifiable negative emotions or evaluations toward persons or other social groups. So, can we as Black people be prejudiced?
Yes, sir.
Sure can.
Yep. Yeah.
We sure can.
Yeah. For sure, right?
Yeah.
I think that goes to the point of one individual saying, one of the questions we had asked initially, we thought we could add it into the topic, is light-skinned brothers versus Black brothers, right? Dark-skinned brothers, right? Can we be prejudiced against one another in that form?
Of course.
We sure can.
Absolutely.
Be.
Yeah, yeah. Have you all just experienced any discrimination in that, prejudice in that way?
Oh, definitely. Different levels of that.
Many times.
Different levels.
You want to share maybe a story or two as
Actually,
it pertains to that?
I was, I think I was in 11th grade, you know, and I was dating a young lady. I want to say she was about Old Soul's complexion. And her mother and father, of course, same complexion. And she had a brother and a sister. They lived in an area of Philadelphia where they had a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I was invited over for this barbecue and had fun in the pool. So the mother I've met, it was just always, hi, Miss So-and-so, and being respectful every time I would come over. And I never looked at anything other than this me coming over, hi, and going about my business, watching TV or whatever. So this particular barbecue, she actually comes out. Now, mind you, it's about like, including me, it was about like 8 people. Mm-hmm. She asked each individual, would you like something to drink? Except for me. And I was like, I let it go. So she brought these drinks out to each individual,
right,
including her daughter, gave them all the drinks. And I was like, so I pulled her daughter to the side. I was like, well, kind of, what's up with that? And she was like, Barry, my mom really doesn't care for you. I said, I never disrespected your mom. Well, she doesn't like light-skinned guys. I was like, what? Now, mind you, at 11th grade, I'm like 16, 17.
Right.
And I'm like, that was the first time an adult did that. Growing up, I always got guys didn't like light-skinned guys for whatever their reasons. But this was a grown woman saying this, or a grown woman doing this. And it made me kind of like take a step back and like, I've never done anything disrespectful to this woman, you know, and at that age, I was mentally messed up about it, you know, and I'm like, wow, you know, and then I kind of dug into a little bit. I never approached her mom about it. I dug into her daughter a little bit more about it, you know, and she was like how she was treated, you know, because you got to figure at that time she might have been in her 40s. So back then in the I want to say the 1940s to early 50s, it was that racial tension going on. Mm-hmm. So her being a dark complected woman, she caught what she caught. And that kind of set her in her ways. Mm-hmm. So of course, me being light skinned and dating her daughter, she didn't care for that at all.
Interesting.
You know.
Hey, also, what you mentioned, yes, too. What were you, as far as prejudice is concerned? You said you had people you felt were prejudiced against you.
I mean, I dealt with a lot growing up. You know, I had all the jokes and everything like that. But one of the many issues that happened to me when I was young, my parents separated when I was young. So I would go over to my father's during the weekend or during the summer. And of course, you know, he continued to see other, you know, he saw other women and stuff like that. He would invite them over to the house. So this one specific time, I think I was maybe around 9 or 10. I'm in the living room. I'm coming in his living room. I'm playing, you know, action figures or something like that. He had a lady over. So I said hello and I left out. So I happened to hear her say, oh, who's that little black boy in your house? And I heard my father say, what did you just say? She said, who's that little black boy running around your house? She said, that's my son. Matter of fact, and I didn't know it. I just heard the black part. And I immediately hurt my feelings. You know, I like went upstairs, whatever. So I went upstairs. My father didn't see me for a little bit. Then my father came up, was like, what's wrong? I was like, well, you know, I thought we were all black. You know, why would she say that about me, you know? He said, well, you don't have to worry about it because I just told her to leave. She'll never come past this house again. Mm-hmm. So right then and there, that was one of the issues that I realized something different about me. And then that's when I thought, you know, maybe it had something to do with my skin color because I thought we were all black. But apparently it made me feel blacker than anybody in the room. And that was what she wanted to accomplish. And it hurt my feelings. My father had to sit down and talk to me about it. He was like, look, at the end of the day, you're my child, you're my son. If somebody comes in here that's like any part of my family for whatever reason, they'll never come back to this house. So what people don't realize is when you make a comment like that, that resonates. So that stayed with me. Like I said, growing up, that's all I got was the dark skin jokes, the inferior jokes. Like it made me feel inferior, like I did not belong, even to the point where I became a teenager. But that was one of the early comments, derogatory comments I got about my complexion.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Crooner, Preacher, either of you experienced any prejudice?
Oh, definitely. I had some. I grew up in Chicago on the South Side. It was predominantly black, and I got myself in trouble after Dr. King passed. All I heard was that we riding against white folks. So the few white folks we had to school, we pretty much chased them out of there. Well, I got busted behind that, and they sent me to a reform school.
Mhm.
And unlike what you see on TV, reform school is like 90% white. And ain't too many blacks in reform school. I'm like, whoa. So I was there. Been going to reform school for a while, for about maybe a year now. So they started letting us have time off. One of my best friends was a guy named Edwin. Edwin was white.
Mhm.
We've been talking back and forth to our parents about, one another. So his mom said, let Mallory come over. So
Did she know you were black at this time?
no, had no idea.
Mhm.
She just knew I was his friend. And with a name like Mallory, it's a given,
Mhm.
So when I got to the house, she had lemonade and sandwiches and chips. At like about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we got over there. And she was really nice to me,
Mhm.
So we sat down and ate. And I heard her say, Edwin, come here. So he went through the swinging door. And she said, why you got this nigger in my house?
So that was so you experienced full on racism.
And I was shocked. I heard her. So I got my little bag, because I was supposed to stay all night. I got my backpack and I was about to leave out the door, and he came back in. He said, Mallory, I'm sorry. I said, that's all right, man. That's all right. I said, it's all right. And I heard her rimming them out when I was going out, like, your dad don't like more niggas in his house, la la. And I just got out of there. I went to the corner store. I was crying. I called my mom. She sent my cousin out to get me. Now we in a different kind of hood. So my cousin got out there. He said, come on, man, come on. I said, what's wrong? Hey, white folks out here, they're going to kill us. We got to get the hell out of here. So he was ready to go. Wow. We was in the wrong neighborhood,
So that experience you experienced was definitely
that devastated
clear
me.
racism, right?
That
So have you experienced any prejudice amongst other black people?
Oh yeah, definitely. I had that too.
Talk to me about that.
But the other black people, it was like something what the baller said. And it really rubbed me the wrong way, but I really didn't do nothing. I just kind of laughed it off. I went to visit some darker friends, at their house and stuff like that. And then they pretty much said, what we going through, and I can't believe they said this, what we going through, you ain't gonna go through because of the complexion you are. I was like, like, what the hell did this come from? What did I do to get this attack? And they all turned around and looked at me like, yeah, they said, yeah. It goes back into history, and they gave me a history lesson, which I already knew the history lesson of, because, the slaves had the light-skinned blacks in the house, and the dark-skinned out in the field, and he kept them against one another. Therefore, whenever he wanted information, he got information because they were telling on one another. So, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Interesting.
I witnessed,
Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to, were you going to preacher?
Anybody?
I wanted to check a little bit
Carl.
on what Bruner said. It's something that he brought that up because that kind of one of my other issues I dealt with prejudice early in my work career where I was working in, and one of the guys who was about baller's complexion, maybe a little bit, and he always ragged me because I got along with with white people. A lot of the some of the people, co-workers I got along with. And he would always rip me about it. He would always throw little digs about me getting along with it, to the point that he was trying to make it feel like I wasn't black enough to be around black people. And that kind of got in my head. So one of the people that I was teamed up with was a girl. She was a black woman. And we got along well. And she came to me one day. She knew it was getting in my head. So what she said was, she says, it's not you, Carl, it's him. She says, the problem is, and she broke it down like this. She says, his problem is that his slave masters, his ancestors were being passed around while your people were working in the fields. And he can't live with that. She broke it down like that I was more closer to our African continent than he was. So, whether that makes you feel good or not, but she wanted to break it down and try to get me out of my own head. So I had to chime in on that kind of what the crooner was saying in regards to that slave ship type of mentality.
Yeah. Donald, thanks for sharing that, man. Donald, because that brought something to mind for me to share. Donald.
Yes. So I've experienced it. All right, I grew up in a white neighborhood. Okay. I grew up in a white neighborhood my entire life. In elementary school, my mom had moved us out to Bensalem. There was only 2 Black people in the entire school, and that was me and my sister. Okay, so yeah, I experienced it. You can't walk into the whole 9 that everyone goes through. But more importantly, as far as my own family, I experienced it in my own family. Not light skin. Oh, you light skin and you talk this way. That was the big thing, right?
Exactly.
You light skin, you talk this way. I had certain cousins that didn't rock with me because they didn't like the way I spoke. I had certain cousins that didn't think I was Black enough because I was born and raised in Holmesburg. So when I would go to their certain family functions, I was me and my sisters were like the outcasts. Oh, we can't talk to them because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to talk the way we talk. So yeah, that's something that culturally we had to really adapt to, right? But I'm a different type of person, so certain things that affect other people, I kind of just shrug off. Yeah. But all white neighborhood, all white schools, the prejudice from the teachers, not thinking that we're smart enough, because they have a negative connotation on what regardless of I'm brown skinned, I'm not light skinned. Mm-hmm. Then even just recently, the girls that I coach, they're like, "Oh, Coach Frank, you're light skinned." I don't even consider myself light skinned. Like B, he's light skinned. Me and you, I'm brown skinned, but they consider me to be light skinned. Yeah. I had family members that favored certain grandchildren because of the color of their skin in my family. Yeah. So yeah.
That's interesting, man. So you were talking, especially when you talk about teachers, you talk about that implicit bias, right? They assume that you're just not smart enough because of the way you look, right? So also brought up a point. I didn't think about this, man. This is guy, Kobe Cole, back in Philly. Kobe fucking Cole. Radio personality, I guess, or whatever he does, right? I was dating this Black girl, ended up dating this white girl, and he's like, look, she cheated on me, right? The Black girl, and he's like, look. So I ended up dating, start dating this white girl. He's like, oh, you ain't Black, this and that. But to Old Soul's point, first of all, I don't give a fuck. I didn't care then, don't care now. But it made me think about it. I'm like, what the hell? Okay. he was very light skinned because to your point, also, I was like, damn, maybe he got a problem, right? Right? Like maybe he is the problem, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I've experienced other prejudices, right? When it comes to like being poor, right? People judging me because I'm poor and them having money, right? But I grew up in, we all grew up in well, I would say poor neighborhoods, but neighborhoods where we were, I grew up on welfare, right? But it's interesting, right? Because I think about just me, myself as an individual. Have I been prejudiced? Have I prejudged other people? And I have.
Of course.
Right? Like, it's just kind of it's almost like a natural progression of kind of making this, you make this assessment. But I have to draw the differentiation between, like, when you read this definition, irrational or unjustifiable negative emotions or evaluations towards persons of the other social groups, right? It's not just about skin. It could be about weight, right? It could be about, your gender. I mean, it could be a number of things. And for me, I do my best to try not to be an individual who prejudges, right? Prejudice is essentially prejudging someone. And it's difficult, but I think we all have that tendency. The question is how do we control it? Yeah, Donald.
I want to take you back to Lincoln High School in 1981, when you guys just started getting bused to the neighborhood, right? Lincoln High School was my neighborhood school. Mm-hmm. I had cats from Logan, East Oak Lane, Mount Airy. I had cats from that area who didn't like me because I wasn't from
that
Logan,
area,
uptown. Yeah. And that is because they had a preconceived notion, which you just said, a prejudging, right? Whereas if I had family in Lincoln and they actually wanted to jump me because, and I can name a couple of the cats that that I know now that we all would know that was part of that group.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for my family members, there was like, if you roll on him, you got to roll on all of us.
Yeah.
And they ain't want that smoke. But and it had nothing to do with anything other than, oh, well, I don't like the way you look.
Yeah.
You ain't with us. You ain't down with us because you ain't never been oppressed, I guess. It was, I don't know. It's a weird 14, 15-year-old mentality. It's really weird.
So I think that's why they call it, that's why they say prejudice is, it's the primary determinant of discriminatory behavior, right? Because we start to form these opinions of people early based on experiences that we go through or people we listen to, right? And when in reality, we should not be doing that, right? At least negative opinions, you know, as far as it's concerned. Let's talk really quick. So discrimination refers to, again, the inappropriate treatment of people because of their actual or perceived group membership. It may include both or overt, covert behaviors, including microaggressions. I want to start off the story with a story that Baller, I think we told the story when we went down to Maryland. My girlfriend at the time, she was Mexican. She was Mexican German. She looked white. And we went to the crib, and Dad didn't know I was the boyfriend. Thought Baller was the boyfriend, you know, from a skin complexion perspective. You know, he was kind of cool with that. But when he found out I was the boyfriend, you know, things changed. And Baller, you know, as Baller tells the story, it's kind of funny, right? We in the crib, we end up, because we went for the night, to spend the night at the house. And that next morning we woke up, Baller tells the story that, you know, Pops, he didn't have the air conditioning. He didn't have the heat on. It was cold outside. He didn't have the heat on. He's sitting out on the porch with a jacket on and just smoke coming out of his mouth, and the house was freezing. And as Baller would tell the story, it was his way of trying to tell him, let's get these motherfuckers up out of here. You know, and so interestingly enough, that probably was definitely a moment of discrimination that I felt. And you know, I don't like to, I really, back in the day, I didn't like to think of people as being very racist, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think Baller at the time was one, at that time, he was like, man, look, this guy's racist, man. You know, he's discriminating against us, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, he is, you know. And as I get older now, I'm just more apt to call these things out and not even deal with it, right? But that was one of my first earliest experiences of like discrimination. It's just kind of, it's funny, I can laugh about it today, but just imagine though, like, have y'all been discriminated? That's my other question. Have y'all been discriminated against? And then 2, have you discriminated against someone? I can tell you that I have not discriminated. I don't believe, I'm fairly confident based on my recollection, I've never discriminated against someone. But my question to you is, have you been discriminated against? And number 2, have you ever discriminated against someone? Yep. Also.
I've been discriminated against. I had a issue while I was at work early in my career, and me and one of my coworkers, we were going to, he recommended this place to go to for lunch. I said, all right, fine, sounds good, let's go get it. So we parked outside his place, went inside, and he knew the people there. He had been there before. So I ordered my food first. And the guy kind of gave me a look, and he's writing the order down. All right, fine, okay, cool. He says, your food will be up in so many minutes, you can wait outside. Didn't think nothing of it. I waited outside. He made his order, he stayed inside. So after I'm outside waiting. And after a few minutes, maybe about a half an hour, my coworker comes outside, but he comes out, it's like, where's the food? He says, well, Carl, he says, there is no food. Now, of course, my coworker was white. He says, Carl, there is no food. We're going to find some place to eat. I said, what's the problem? He says, well, he told me, he says, you know, I've told you before about bringing somebody like that in my establishment. And,
wait. I'm sorry. He said, who said what?
The owner, the guy who took my order,
right,
told my coworker, he says, I think I've spoken to you before about having people like that in my establishment. will serve you, but I'm not going to serve him.
Wait, how long ago was this?
This was, I'd say this was around 97, 98. This is Center City, Philadelphia.
No.
Center City, Philadelphia. The establishment was somewhere off of Locust Street. They're not there anymore. I don't know if they were.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
I don't know if they were either Greek or Italian or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But once he found that out, once he said that, he said, "Carl, you know what? We're going to find some place." He says, "I feel bad." He says, "We're not going to get anything to eat from there." So he was like, "I just don't feel right doing it." He said, "I can't believe he said something like that." I was like,
interesting.
That was one of the that was a situation I had to deal with. So,
have you ever discriminated against someone?
Not intentionally, but I am going to say this, and I'm going to ask everybody by a show of hands. Anybody travel by plane after 9/11? Anybody on this podcast?
Yeah. Geez.
Was there ever a certain person of ethnicity that sat there and you felt some type of way after 9/11?
That's true. That's true.
I'll leave it as that.
That's true.
But you didn't treat them a certain way. You just judged them a certain way.
No.
You had a prejudice. Listen, I admit, I've been on a flight, and immediately after 9/11, I got a little nervous, and I had to check myself. You know what I mean? I had to say to myself,
Absolutely.
"What the hell are you doing?" Right? Like, if he pulls something out, just slide him.
Right. I had a game plan. That was my game. I had a game plan every time. I had a game plan.
No, but the thought did cross my mind
all the time.
But it's not the right thought process, right? Because then we're making, again, a prejudgment, a pre-assumption that this person, because of how they dress or the way they look, they're going to do this, right? So interesting. Not a discrimination moment, kind of a more of a prejudgment moment. Yeah.
But as far as discriminatory, no.
Got it. Kruger, you going to say something?
Yeah, I got a discrimination thing. I remember, I say back in the early 2000s, me and Nick was going out karaoke and going out to sing. Mm-hmm. And that's when Nick was singing Barry White, Practice What You Preach. Mm-hmm. And I was singing country. Mm-hmm. So I walked to this little country establishment, and I put my name down.
Was it Chattanooga Hoochie?
No, it was
not Chattanooga Hoochie?
The dance by Garth Brooks.
Okay.
Anyway, I put it down, and Nick put down Practice What You Preach. Right. So this karaoke host, I put mine in like way before Nick did.
Wait. Where were you going?
Oceanside, man. Oceanside.
Oceanside. Okay, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
So
that's a military. Oceanside is kind of a military area, gentlemen. Just so you were up here in California.
He said, "Let me get Leon up to sing," and I started walking toward the stage, and he said this out loud. No, I didn't mean you. I meant the other guy. I kept on walking to the stage, man, and I could say that song. People just say, "Whoa!" I just laughing my butt off. I looked at him. I said, "You ain't shit." Now we walked out.
Wait, well, what do you mean by not you? The other guy? He's talking about Nick.
He thought, he thought Nick was singing the dance.
Yeah.
When he saw Practice What You Preach. Of course, the black dude
you were doing it. Yeah. So
that bust that stereotype.
Yeah.
Big time.
Interesting. Yeah, big stereotype. Interesting. Have you been discriminatory against some people?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all have to a certain extent. Even though I heard you say, things. So like when people put things in your mind, like
hold on. Let me clarify though. Have you treated people a certain way, like because of the way they look? So I don't know
if I necessarily treated them, but it was in the back of my mind, like they say, Asian can't drive, and I'm like, okay, well, hey. I'm gonna stay away from you a little bit. I ain't treating you no certain way, but I'm in the back of my mind, hey, your driving ability is not what it should be,
So I asked the question. Let me explain why I asked the question, just for clarification. I think there's a separation, a difference between prejudice and discrimination.
Right.
Prejudice is the thought process, right? Discrimination is the actual act of doing.
Act itself.
I tell you, there's a lot of things that get me, man. Like these participation trophies. Man, I hate that, man. I hate that. You come in last place and you get a trophy? Come on, man. That don't make no sense. You're not making nobody strong enough,
What's that got to do with discrimination?
Because you got everybody coming in,
I just
You
want
know,
to know, but what's that got to do with discrimination?
yes,
You're on a whole different topic.
I'm discriminating against them. I'm like, oh, they don't live here. You know, that's what I'm doing. I'm discriminating against them.
You're killing me.
There's all kinds of stuff out there that's like
I don't listen. From the man who practices love all the time on Facebook, I don't believe that you have discriminated against anybody.
Well,
I think you've had prejudices. I mean, you clearly haven't explained to me how you've been discriminated against someone. You've probably held some prejudices for sure, but I don't think you've discriminated against someone.
I don't think I have either, but it's like, I think to a certain extent that when we hold these beliefs, these beliefs can manifest into you really act in a different way.
So it goes back to the point of, prejudice are primary determinants of discriminatory behavior, right? It's a starting point for people to be, to become racist or discriminate against others, right? That's why when we have this topic, hold on, Donald, real quick, I'm gonna come to you. That's why when we start talking, and we do it in joking ways, right? But when we talk about like Mexicans cutting lawns and things like that, you know what I mean? If you think about someone talking about us in a negative fashion, right? Maybe listening to a show, we might see it differently and take it wrong, or we may take it the wrong way, right? And so we have to be very careful in these things when we say them. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Donald. I went off on a little.
No, what I was going to say is it's learned behavior, and we also, it's anybody that's watching the show, it's tongue in cheek. Everyone knows that. Like, yeah. So if someone watches our show and takes something that we say seriously, like I will take photos of the guys that's at Corman Commercial Properties. I'm gonna take photos of who's cutting the grass. Now that's not a stereotype. You know what I mean? If I go to a restaurant and I see people in the back and the food tastes real good and it's seasoned right, I'm gonna say, man, it's probably brothers back there putting it down. So I mean,
Hey, hold on real quick. You do know that in a lot of, especially out in California, in a lot of these restaurants here, man, it ain't necessarily the person who that just because it's Greek don't mean there's a Greek back there cooking.
No. I get that, but I was drawing the parallel, sir.
Sure, I got
between the two, right? We all like watermelon and chicken.
Yeah,
I'm very offended by that because I like watermelon and chicken.
You like both of them.
I'll eat it at the same time. Chicken in this hand,
watermelon.
Okay, so
I just go ahead.
I'm right with you.
How about it? So wait. So have you? Let's stay on you, Donald. Have you been discriminated against, and have you discriminated against someone?
Okay, so let's just get the easy one out of the way. I have never discriminated against anyone. Because I believe in order to really discriminate against someone, you have to be in a position of power. But that's a whole nother, we'll get onto that whole racism thing later. But as far as discriminated, I've been very successful in my career. I've been very blessed and fortunate that in the 35 years that I've worked for only minority companies. Only minority companies.
Yeah, no.
And I'm not talking about just black, Asian, Filipino. So since my career started in 1985, I've had the pleasure of only working for small 8A minority-owned businesses. So I haven't had any issues. I've been very successful in spite of the way I talk, in spite of the color of my skin, and the lack of degrees that I have, because the position that I have requires a master's, if not a PhD, and yet I still hold that position without the paperwork.
Because that says something about Mr. Preacher with a gun.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say your first, middle, and last name, but you know what I'm saying. I wanted to say it, but that's what it means. That means you're doing your damn thing. We're gonna talk about racism, because racism talks about authority. I think you can be discriminate. You can discriminate against someone without having power. I think you can. But before I get into that, Baller, how about you? Have you been excuse me. So Donald, have you been discriminated against though?
I said no. I really haven't had that issue. I mean, once I got out of the certain neighborhoods,
yeah,
we all had to be walking around in the store. I'm in the elevator with a $400 suit on, $300 shoes, $1,000 watch. I get, and the lady gets on the elevator who don't look like me, I got $1,000 in my pocket. I got about $1,400 worth of gear on, and she over there clutching. She probably got $30 in her purse. I don't want nothing you got, lady. We've all experienced walking across the street and hearing the clicks in the car. You hear the door lock, and they see you walking across the street because the perception is that I pose a threat. The melatonin in my skin is a weapon.
Is that a discriminatory behavior?
Yeah, I believe so. It's learned behavior too.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we could do the same, right? We could be in a store. If we had a store or owned a store and we saw somebody, we could assume, let's just say it's a white person coming in looking dirty, or a homeless person, maybe, just throwing out some examples: a homeless person, white person, old, dirty, black person, old, dirty, homeless, Asian, whatever nationality, ethnicity you are. And then they're walking up and down the aisle, and you got your store, and you're like, well, damn, let me look in my mirror just to double check to make sure they ain't checking nothing out, right? That's a discriminatory practice, right?
But maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the color of their skin. I mean, you added a bunch of different caveats. So if you're adding caveats to it, then you're dwindling it down to a specific type.
But discrimination itself is not, it's about how you treat people. It's not based on color or skin. It's based on it's based on, who they are as a group or an individual, right? It's not necessarily their race. So you can still discriminate against someone without.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's why we're having this topic. Because when I go to I'm gonna hit Chris Rock on. When I go to the ATM machine and I'm looking over my shoulder, okay, you know what I'm looking for, right? You know what Chris Rock's saying, right? You know what the Chris Rock? I'm not gonna say it because everyone's gonna get upset. But I'm not looking for black people over my shoulder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm looking for.
I guess if you were sitting in Oklahoma somewhere, if you were sitting in Oklahoma somewhere or Kentucky somewhere where they have a high usage of opioid usage, right? And you had an ATM, and that high usage of opioid usage is predominantly white people, and you had an ATM, you'd be looking over your shoulder worrying about.
Correct.
Right. So again, to that point, it's probably like the perceived group, where they are. Sure, there are a lot of variables, involved with it, right? But it's interesting you share that comment, right? Why do we assume? I'm going to go out here. I'm going to reach out here. Why do we assume, based on what Chris Rock said, we worried about ourselves when we at the ATM? We worried about our own people doing something as opposed to others.
Why? Because of the media.
So the media has now put something in your head that makes it's a learned behavior, right?
Yes. I have older couples in my church that's in their 70s that have come to me and say they're scared to go to a store because if they see some young person with their pants hanging down off their behind, they automatically feel that they're going to be robbed. Yeah. These are black people that grew up doing segregation, doing Jim Crow. They from the South. And they weren't about a 17-year-old kid walking around with his pants down, because the perception is, right, that if you don't wear your pants right, if you don't walk a certain way, if you don't talk a certain way, if you don't carry yourself a certain way, you pose a threat.
Interesting is you say that because they say that perception is a reality. And it is their reality. It is the people's reality, although it may be an unwarranted belief, right, or thought process. They see what they see in media, and then they believe it. In media, I'm telling you, media, I'm going to say this here. There is some fake news out there. I don't want to actually say it, because the old president, and I'm going to call him the old president now, 45, used to say, fake news. I don't think it's as much as he professes it to be, but to that point, there is some fake news, and to that point, there is the way the media puts things out there. There was an article I saw one day of, it was an article of a black man who robbed a store, and it was like the front page article, and then it was an article of a white guy who killed somebody, and it was like a small article on the same page, like making us look like, we're monsters, right? Yeah, super predators, right? So to that point, your media. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a quick story, and this is, and I really do mean this quick. Yep. So in 1985, I met someone. I'm not going to say her first name, but she was Irish and Italian, And I was her first interaction with a Black person. She had admittedly said she don't know any Black people. She never was around any Black people. So we get in the car. It was me, her, and a couple other people going to like McDonald's for lunch. And I'm talking the way I'm talking now. And she says, I'm surprised that you sound different. And I said, well, what did you expect me to sound like? And I quote, J.J. Evans.
Wow.
No, really?
Wow.
1985. She expected me to say Dynamite because she watched enough Good Times, right? And she assumed that that's how we only talk jive.
Yeah, interesting.
That's about perception, right?
Yes.
It's about learned behavior.
Yes. What shows?
And I'll tell you more about that offline.
Yes. Baller, have you one, been discriminated against, and then two, discriminate against someone? Again, when we talk about discrimination, have someone treated you, and I think part of that early story might have been that, right? that you share with us, but any other examples of discrimination?
I actually had one, I want to say now it's been maybe 2 years now. This is about 2 years ago. Interviewing for a state job. Interviewed for the state job with the area manager of for Pennsylvania, with the area manager and his supervisor. Both were Caucasian. Okay, did well in the interview. So now they have to give that information to HR up in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania State HR. That information gets up there. Okay, I want to hire this guy, but he can't give the okay who I actually had an interview with. It has to be the chick in HR. Okay, I'm having conversations with her through email. What's going on? Da 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 da. So this went on for approximately 3 months. State hiring slow as heck. So emails back and forth between one young lady to another young lady. So, and I'm like, well, Barry, we'll get back to you, as soon as we get whatever information they needed, my background check. So they get all this information that they needed. Background check clears through. I get an email saying that they're going to give me a call later on that afternoon. I'm like, okay. So I get the call saying, well, Barry, we're going to go a different way with the position. Now, mind you, with the state, I have certain political connections. I didn't say who my political connections were, because she just needs to process me through. That was, to me, that's all she had to do. I'm not working with her. I'm working with the area manager here in Philadelphia.
Right.
So when I get word that, when she tells me, well, we're going a different way, I said, a different way? I said, what do you mean a different way? Well, Barry, we found somebody a little bit more qualified and all this other stuff. I said, oh, really? I said, okay, sometimes it happens. So again, some things don't sit well with you. It didn't sit well with me. Not that answer. So come to find out, it was a Caucasian guy that was hired. So within 2 weeks later, that same area manager, there was another position open up. Somebody happened to retire. Boom. Area manager calls me directly on my cell phone. Said, Barry, you still interested in position? I said, hell yeah. All I had to do was okay, somebody from the state is going to call you. Same young lady. Went through the same rigmarole with her again.
How you spell rigmarole? I'm just fucking with you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, brother. I had to do that.
So I go through the same thing with her again, saying, they're going a different way with the position. And I'm like, and at this point in time, she doesn't know the interaction I'm having with the area manager. She said, Barry, I don't know what the problem is. It's actually out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. Now, mind you, she's just a chick in HR. And I'm like, the position is open. I get an area manager call me. He likes me. He wants me for the position. And the only conclusion I could come to is because of this. Now, mind you, because she's never seen me. She sees on my application, African American. And I'm like, and my mind is spinning, the wheels is going, or whatever, because that's the only conclusion I can come to. You know, and mind you, this is with the state, and I'm like, so I call my political connects. So they're on the phone trying to find out what the problem is or whatever. And this young lady was saying something about my background check. I said, that's impossible. Here's my background check right there. Now, my political connect, I showed him the information that she was referring to. So at that point in time, nobody had an answer.
Right.
You know, so it kind of just went back and forth for quite some time. You know, and then we run into a lot of, now to mind you, again, this is, like I said, about, it wasn't even 2 years ago. I want to say it had to be a year and a half at the most. So now you got all these things going on with the state. So my situation is doing this. It's not up here anymore. So now I got to sit back, you know, and like I said, I just felt as though that was discriminatory towards me because one, never seen me except for the actual person I did the interview with.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. Definitely possible discrimination. Interesting. Me being someone who's been in HR for over 20 years, man, there's definitely a number of reasons. But given that scenario, I mean, HR plays more of a role than you think. Just so you know, there could be a number of variables, but you know, it could have been a discriminatory practice for you. Have you discriminated against anyone in your?
I don't. Class? Me personally, I may have discriminatory thoughts, but actions, no. You know, and a lot of things because you know a lot of guys on the podcast say that I'm a fairly light skin. I'm a light skinned guy, and then when it gets cold, I'm even lighter. You know, so if I'm not up in your face like this, you may just think, oh, that's a white guy. You know, and I've even had friends of mine, you know, that might not see me from distance, or if I'm driving in my car, they be like, well, Barry, who's that white guy driving your truck or whatever? It's me. You know, and they be like, oh, Barry, I didn't know that was you or whatever. You know, so I've gotten that a lot, you know.
So you haven't had discriminatory thoughts. You basically you prejudged, basically, is what you've done. Yeah. Remember, discrimination in my eyes is basically, and given this definition, is treating people a certain way, right?
I haven't done that. It's just thoughts, and that's it.
And which I think we all have some prejudgmental thoughts and preconceived notions. Yeah, Donald.
And for all you kiddies out there that's watching, rigmarole, Rigamaro.
All right, spell it again.
You know, you can't say that we don't educate you.
Yeah.
Rigamaro.
Rigmarole. Come on, baby.
Rigmarole.
Lord have mercy. Hey,
I tried to pass that on to you, B. I tried to pass it on to you. But he had his phone on Do Not Disturb.
Look, good. I appreciate it. No, do not disturb, God dang it. Hey, listen, I saw those text messages coming through. So I think we've covered everybody on discrimination. Let's talk about racism, right? This is I think the meat of the topic, right? I've been watching this guy, and I'm going to include him in the link. His name is Jeffrey Robinson. He's the deputy legal director for the National ACLU. And man, he goes heavy into racial bias, racism, real deep. And I would strongly recommend that you all check him out. I'm watching a three-part series on his YouTube regarding racial bias. And, you know, he's talking to prosecutors, man, about how, you know, we have the problem is really within the system, right? And he was breaking it down, and I'm like, whoa. So his definition of racism is prejudice plus social power plus legal authority, right? Prejudice plus social power plus legal authority. The definition I have from the National Association of School Psychologists is, remember, prejudice or discrimination against individuals based on beliefs about one's own racial superiority or belief that race reflects inherent differences in attributes and capabilities. I want to stop there. So, was White Men Can't Jump a racist movie?
All day.
No, right? Like,
All
nah,
day.
White
I
Men
mean,
Can't
that's
Jump, right?
all day.
Yeah, racist movie, right?
Right.
We enjoyed it because
And there's scenes in there that tie directly to, oh, you wearing that chain, right? You care more about wearing that chain than feeding your family,
yeah,
right? That's a perception.
yeah.
So
But was it racist to Woody Allen too because he couldn't jump?
Of
no, that was a
course.
fact.
Oh, he just couldn't jump, right?
That's a fact. I mean, just do some planks or something. That's a fact. Sorry.
He never could. White men can't jump. How funny. Beliefs about one's own racial superiority or belief that the race reflects inherent differences in attributes. Explicit racial prejudice and discrimination against individuals, for example, by individuals and institutions. So racism right now, let's talk about this, right? Proud Boys, I would consider a racist organization. Some people say Donald Trump is racist. Do you all believe Donald Trump is racist?
Yes.
No.
Donald?
No.
No? Why? So
No,
everybody says yes. Donald, why do you say
Hold
on. No, I want to hear his opinion because I'm actually kind of borderline about whether Donald is racist or not. But let's talk about it.
Okay.
Baller. So, and I'm pointing to the screen. Baller, tell me, why do you think Donald Trump is racist?
Well, just like I think the preacher said it a few minutes ago, where it's a learned attribute.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read about his father was a clear racist. And that's something you bring down to your kids. You know what I'm saying? That household, his environment under that Trump, household was all about racism.
Mm.
We are above minority. We are above blacks. We are above Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
We are above anything other than white, European. Okay?
Mm.
So that is a learned attribute that I want to say at points he's tried to hide. But the real nature of Donald Trump is a racist.
Mm.
Now, I think there are levels of racism, or of a racist rather, but to say that he's a racist, yes.
Mm. Also, you said yes too. Why?
I think there are many things. One of the things that stands out with me that points to his racism is the incident that happened in Charlottesville when you had white supremacists there. And he basically, once the violence happened, and he made the statement that there are good people on both sides. There's hard to find good people with white supremacists. I like to know where are the good people, right? So I with that in mind, like I said, I'm pretty sure there are other ones, but for me, that's a glaring one to say, when you know that there's a hate group there, and you're going to say there are good people on both sides. No, they're not.
Yeah,
there's not.
Crooner?
Yeah, man, so many, man. Go back to the children at the border. You know how he said the Mexicans coming in are going to kill you and murder you. One that really got me and they let go so much was calling the virus the China virus, man. That was just wrong, man. So many people got hurt behind that because he said this mess. This man is don't get me started on this dude, man. Every time I open his mouth, he got something negative to say about something racist to say, He's just a racist dude, man.
And by the way, this will be our last time talking about Trump, gentlemen.
Yes, please.
I am of the opinion, sorry, Crooner, to cut you off, but I am of the opinion that we need to take Trump out of our lexicon. We don't have that conversation any longer about Trump unless we full on clowning him after this actual episode. So Donald, you say, nah, you don't think so, huh?
Yeah, and I'll explain why, and this is why we're having the show. All right, so in my opinion, you see that's his talking point there. No, in all seriousness, playing politics and dog whistling to his base is not racist behavior. It's not racist behavior. He's whistling to his base so that he can secure 70 million votes. So if, based on what you're saying, in my opinion, if he was as racist as everyone claims that he is, there's a lot of people that was in his life prior to him becoming president that I pretty much have a highly respect of their character, but yet they sat down, they broke bread with him. People like Muhammad Ali, people like Tiger Woods, people like your girl Oprah Winfrey. So if he was such a racist, why is he? Matter of fact, Al Sharpton, him and Al have sat down and break bread. So why are you breaking bread? I know racists, right? And out of their mouth every 5 minutes is nigger, not nigga, nigger. Every I walking across the street being called a nigger in Holmesburg in the 1970s. Okay, living in Bucks County, I know what a racist looks like. And just because his words, so he gave $100 million to HBCUs. A racist is not doing that.
Yeah, but that $100 million is my understanding based on the information I heard directly from directors of the HBCUs. It was a recording that these were dollars that were already pre-funded too, and he just continued to support the program. Right?
I understand, but again, if I'm a
but
racist,
he didn't give them. He just continued to support it.
Right, but I'm saying if I'm a racist, right? Racist. Why did 18% of Black people vote for him?
Ignorance.
You think it was? You really believe it was ignorance?
Yeah.
A lot of educate. Nah, if I have a different take on it, and I know it might go a little off topic, right? But for those of you that are listening, if you're anti-gay, right, then that's a Republican. So most people who are evangelicals are anti-gay. So the Republican Party is anti-gay. I have a gay daughter, so I'm not affected by that. I'm just talking how people think, right? Republicans are anti-abortion.
You're not, but you're not saying everyone's a monolith. You're saying the majority.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So people voted for him based on his ability to pack the Supreme Court. They ain't necessarily like his words. So that's what I'm saying. So to call someone a flat out racist, I can name a handful that's flat out racist. Does he have racist tendencies or is he speaking to his base? I believe that. That's just my opinion.
No, I appreciate your opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people who people of color who probably side right along with you. I was on the fence on whether or not Donald Trump was a racist. But then I started to think about Central Park 5, how he took out a big ad and wanted to make sure that they get I think if I recall correctly, to the fullest extent of the law of prosecution, right? Then Barack Obama with the what's that? Obama? What was that? The birtherism?
But that was started by Hillary Clinton.
That was started by, but he continued it.
I'm just saying, but it was political opponents. So
no, I got you. But he straight on took it forward. He 200%, right? But most importantly, here's I think the piece that really got me, especially after I read this here. Other forms of racism are modern symbolic racism in which individuals deny the continued existence of racial inequality while contributing to discrimination and aversive racism through in-group favoritism for the dominant racial group. And that is what Donald's doing. Trump, excuse me, not the preacher with a gun, but that right there is Trump turning a blind eye and allowing these groups, listen, I understand it's about votes, but there's some moral boundaries where you don't cross. No, I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, listen, you're a preacher. Would you cross a moral boundary to get something?
Yeah, well, but my integrity
Your values.
and my integrity and my morality is not a politician's, because I believe
understand.
that President Obama is a liar,
No, listen.
and I voted for him 2 times.
Well, I don't.
But he
that's
lied.
probably a whole separate. That's probably a whole separate conversation
Right.
about.
But
him
he
lying,
lied. He's, you know.
That's a whole separate conversation that I'd be more than willing to have a conversation with you about. If we decide to have a conversation on Obama, being one of the greatest presidents ever. But my point is that Trump, in my eyes, is a racist in that he supports these groups and he does not acknowledge them, right? And turns back to them. Or when we come to him and say, you should put this group down or demolish this group, he won't do that. And if he's not doing that, then he's practicing racism, right? And so, a lot of people may disagree with it. And to your point, does he have racial tendencies? Hell yes. He has racial tendencies, right? And with that said, you never heard him use the N-word, but you never been behind doors with him either, right? And you don't quite know. He might be, to Baller's point, he might be this level of a racist as opposed to this level of racist who just don't give a shit. I don't know. But
none of us really know.
No, you're right.
It's just your speculation.
Oh,
based on
that's only because we're not in that circle. Just like you said, preacher, Oprah, you got those high.
Take a look at the group text.
Hold on a moment. Hold on. Let me finish.
Yes.
But you went and said that no, I know for a fact that he's supporting these groups because he's not demolishing. Admonishing them.
I don't want to defend them, but here's the thing, right? If you guys know who Reverend Wright is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you respect Reverend Wright's views?
Definitely, I do.
I don't know who Reverend Wright is.
Well, Google Reverend Wright and see do you think he's racist. Let me know if you think Reverend Wright is racist.
Okay.
Based on this, that was President Obama's preacher. So based on that, by affiliation, if you review President, tell me
very quickly.
No. I want you to review it for yourself.
Okay.
So that you can gauge your own opinion on it.
Can I get a trailer? Can I get a trailer though?
If it's by association, bro, then it's by association. If I say I denounce a particular, if I say I don't know David Duke and I say it 20 times, and then the reporter asked me the 21st time, and I already answered the question 20 times, why do I got to keep answering the same question over and over and over again? I have to denounce it every single time. So I don't like liver.
But I'm in the dark. Explain to me this Reverend Wright thing. What happened? What did he say?
No, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to. This is not the platform for that. We can get into it.
Okay.
And I see Brother Leon say he already on board. So you do your own research.
I'll have to do my homework on Reverend Wright.
Matter of fact, you want to have a whole episode on Reverend Wright? Let's rock and roll.
Oh my goodness. I'll have to have an episode on Reverend Wright. So when we talk, when we talk about, so I use the word demonish, and I meant admonish. Trump's never admonished these individuals, and I think that, from my perspective, those are definitely, racial tendencies. I would say that he's a racist. That is my opinion.
You know what?
Yeah.
I've broken bread with a lot of people that I thought weren't racist and found out later they were racist. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that happened here lately that blew me away was when Floyd was killed. Mm-hmm. This man that I grew to have respect for, he said this, man, I just lost my mind. He said, they making such a big deal of this criminal dying. If he was in front of me, I would have snatched him up and beat the shit out of him. I said, you missed the whole point. They killed a black man live on TV. Didn't have no idea what the hell he done or what he's been. They killed a black man live on TV. And you're going to reach out and say, well, let's check out his record. Let's see what he's done.
Interesting.
But you already know why that is, though. because it has to fit a particular narrative
for them to accept it.
So like, yeah, but no, not just that. I mean, our eyes don't lie. It doesn't make a difference if his rap sheet was wrapped around the corner. See, that's what I'm talking about. You're talking about a moral act, right? 14 bullets for this man who had a clear mental disorder, right? A clear mental disorder. Now, for me, there should have been additional things that happened. There is a system in play, which I actually had to implement on one of my family members when they were a danger to themselves. And I had to go through the necessary steps to get them help. I'm not saying the family didn't do that, but they had called the police for like 4 or 5 different occasions for this gentleman. So I don't understand, like, but I know what he was trying to get at, right? Because they always want to justify the foolishness by bringing up someone's rap. That it has nothing to do with it. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. Period.
So can black people be racist?
Yes.
I disagree.
Absolutely. I'll give you my experience.
Yeah,
I'll
explain.
give you my experiences. Of course, in my workplace, I've had to deal with, Preacher talked about it earlier in the conversation. It seems as though that when you talk a certain way, when you talk properly, people amongst your own color feel as though you're trying to talk white. I've gotten a lot of that in my work career. One of the supervisors that I worked with at the time, he's no longer there. He was an older gentleman, probably, closer to Brother Leon's age at the time. And he went around my particular job stating that I was, and here's a quote, an Uncle Tom. It got back to me that he had said it. So when I confronted him about it, one of the words he said was, "Oh, no, I wasn't referencing the Uncle Tom. I was just referencing Uncle and my first name." I said, "The only person that calls me Uncle by my first name are my nieces and my nephews." And I said, I'm a little surprised that you would say that to me because I'm younger and you're older and your generation actually walked for civil rights. And you're calling someone because I've ascended to a management position an Uncle Tom, and because I don't talk jive, or because I forgot, quote unquote, who I was. So I dealt with it on that level.
Yeah. Go ahead, Donald.
Is that racism or is
No.
that jealousy?
No,
That's not racism.
Yeah,
That's
it's
jealousy.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
And he's
I'm
jealous of the
sorry.
fact that you ascended to that position. I mean,
It's
envy,
more.
envy is a powerful tool, brother.
I've dealt with envy.
So
I've dealt with envy in my workplace, and I've dealt with out racism.
Okay.
Amongst
hold on a moment.
I've dealt with it.
Hold on a moment. But I think it's important to be clear, old soul, in how you define racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, I think the problem is we intertwine all these things together and we confuse them, right? And so when you think about, I gave you I want you to watch these videos that I'm going to send out. I'm going to include them in the links from the deputy legal director. Prejudice, social power, and legal authority. Does he have any of those over you?
None.
Then
Exactly.
That's not, it's not.
You can't be
not
racist.
racism, right?
Okay.
He may be discriminating against you, treating you a certain way, discriminating against you in a certain way, right? But does he have that power over you to do anything, or legal authority, right? No. So, I bring this to say this because, it's important that individuals don't get confused between prejudice, discrimination, and racism. So,
to refute that, and let me throw that in there with that caveat. I'm glad you added that in. If that is the case, if everything you said is the case, then why is the caveat, or why is the word Uncle Tom? Isn't that a racist statement that was in Jim Crow South? I mean, why would you, if you're jealous of me, okay, I could say, oh, you're an a-hole, or a number of different words. But why would you reference something that was brought up in segregational time?
The same reason why, I'm sorry. The same reason why people call Ben Carson Uncle Tom, because he works in the cabinet. The same reason why people call Larry Scott, who's a Republican and congressman in South Carolina, an Uncle Tom, because it's not racism.
Yes,
They say
The word itself. So you're telling me Uncle Tom is not a
calling someone a derogatory name is not inherently racist.
Yeah.
It's a derogatory name.
Yeah.
My opinion.
We can agree to disagree. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. You know, but you know, it's easy to say we can agree to disagree, right? But I think it's important to understand the definition of it, right? And you have to research it and understand it to understand the definition, right? So we're having this conversation, but the conversation shouldn't stop here. It should be more education through certain videos, right, that you should watch to educate yourself on what this really means. I mean, this is just our perspective. This is us doing brief research and sharing our opinions and perspectives. So, but it's important for me to point out, though, also, right, I agree with the preacher. It's a derogatory term that's being used. If these individuals don't have power over you or legal authority, then, you know, it's really not, it's not racism. It's more of a discriminatory practice. So he's treating you a certain way, right? He's calling you this, he's calling you that, right? And that's why, I mean, I wanted to talk about that, right? And so someone else, I think, said, did someone else say, yes, black people can be racist? Who did? Baller or Crooner? Did y'all say that? Baller? You did?
I feel as though black people can be racist.
Okay. Explain.
You know, and my thing, are we racist? No. Can we be racist? Yes. You know, we find ourselves, you know, with 400 years of slavery, trying to get out this pit. And we sometimes, you know, we can't get over this hump. So our racism, our being a racist, you know, is looking at that person outside of our race, you know, and I understand you gave the examples or the definition of what the gentleman said racist can be or what they are, you know, but my thing, you know, if you're getting, and I understand the preacher said the same thing, it is a form of jealousy in that. So it is a line between being a racist and having a distinctive jealousy or whatever. But when we're trying to pull up our boots by our straps or whatever, you know, it still falls on lines of, I need to be better. I need to want better. And I need to, you know, eventually get over this hump of where we've been years before.
Baller, real quick though, give me a specific example of how black people can be racist. That's what I'm looking for. If you know.
A specific to be racist.
Because again, the question is, can black people be racist? So you're saying yes. Give me a specific example of how.
Well, I'm not going to say we have the aptitude to be racist. I'm not saying I can't give you a clear example because we have the aptitude to be racist. You know, just like a white person, just like you asked a question about Donald Trump. I gave you specific, in my opinion, a reason why I think he's a racist. Yeah. You know, and the other guys on the cast said the same thing, except for the preacher.
But that was easy. That was easy. I guess, you know, black people, when you think about, so I'm gonna come back to you, Crooner. Do you think a black person can be racist?
We covered this in the first 5 minutes of the conversation, like having light skin, fair skin, put down dark skin.
But that's discrimination, not racism.
Isn't that also racism? Because they had the power, they had more power over the dark skinned people.
No, that's not necessarily true.
Oh, yes, they did.
No,
if you worked in the house,
wait.
They had more power than the guys who worked in the field.
Leon, I'm talking about current, present time.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
No.
I'm just saying, you said can black people? Yeah, black people.
Correct. Can black people be racist? And you didn't live back in current times. You don't know how much power one had. You don't know. I'm talking about currently, right now. Like, we don't know. You and I were not back in the fields. We weren't in the houses. We don't know. So my question is right now, given current times, I think there might be a potential where this could play out, but I'm curious, can black people be racist? And if so, based on your experience currently, how? Donald, I'm gonna come to you, brother. I believe me, but I want to hear what Karina has to say.
Well, let me think on it, and I'll get back.
All right, Donald.
So here is the premise, okay? Let us control the House. Let us control the Senate. Let us control the presidency with people that look like you and me and everybody in this podcast, where we can then invoke laws that oppress the other people. Then and only then will we be racist, because there was laws written by the people, the powers. There was laws written that would prohibit you and I from going to a particular water fountain or a particular institution. The reason why they had to incorporate all these different things is because the people of power oppress us. That's what a racist is. The term is overly used, okay? Black people inherently can't be racist because they don't control, they're not lawmakers, for crying out loud. And that's it, I'm done.
So interesting you say that. Listen, so I want you all, I'm going to include this link to Jeffrey Robinson's first video, and he plays a video of a comedian talking about how white people talk about reverse racism. And this comedian really sums it up. Similar to what you just did, Donald, right? He sums it up, right? We don't have the power or the authority to really be racist. You know, I was thinking what could be one circumstance, maybe a Black-owned business, and you're the CEO. You decided you wanted to practice certain practices for hiring only certain people, but again, that's maybe discriminatory, right? When it comes to racism, I don't think that, we can be racist. And now I'm gonna tell you, I didn't arrive to this conclusion a long time ago. This is me having conversations with you all and doing more and more research. And I'm like coming to this like final conclusion, because I've been going back and forth. I like to weigh things out, right? And research and understand more. But this gentleman, as I mentioned, Jeffrey Robinson, really talks about racial bias. And there's 3 parts to it. But the first part, it's 45 minutes. I promise you, if you take the time, I'm going to do a watch party on it, actually on Facebook. If you take the time and watch the damn video, just in the first 45 minutes, you're going to see how it's like, holy crap, right? How we as individuals perceive things, right? And so that's important. I want to close out and talk a little bit about what are some ways to approach reducing prejudice and discrimination in the world, right? Which ultimately leads to racism. Donald?
Well, I also just want to add this, because I think this is going to be one of our topics down the road as a preacher, okay? How many when this podcast is listening, I'm going to take it somewhere. How many of y'all believe that Jesus is white? But everywhere you go, every Catholic church you go, there's a white Jesus, because they paid someone to draw that image, right? That's the image that's in our brain. But if you do your research and educate yourself, the Bible was written about the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that Jesus was not white. He wouldn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. I know it's a scary topic. Ooh, but that's the reality. Same thing with racism. All right. And what did we want to close out on? What were we closing out on so I can finish? What's the question again?
No. Good point. So that made me think about the Star Spangled Banner, right? There's a few bars outside of that Star Spangled Banner that makes you say, I don't know if I want to sing that Star Spangled Banner ever again. Watch the video that I'm going to show you. Jeffrey Robinson, the deputy legal director, a national director of ACLU. When he shows you this video, when you watch it, I'm telling you, you're just going to be like, what in the world? I want to close out on some approaches to reducing prejudice.
Okay. All right. Knowledge of self. Knowledge of self.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I don't care what color you are, light skin, dark skin, brown. I don't care. Knowledge of self. Okay. We are descendants of kings and queens. And just because the schools that we went to did not teach us that, We have to teach our kids, our grandkids, and our great-grandkids. It's us over 50. We old fogies. We're not going to be able to change the perception of America. It's the generations coming behind us. And if we, Black, it's the greatest thing, right? I don't care what color you are. If you take Black and mix it with Caucasian, you're making a tan baby. So the only way to change the culture is just to keep making babies.
First
Tan
of all,
them up, baby.
I'm in
Tan
denial
them
because
up.
I'm not old. All right, I'm gonna tell you,
Tan
I'm
'em
not
up.
old.
Tan them up.
Tan them up. Old school. How do you think what are some ways for us to approach reducing prejudice and discrimination?
My father told me one thing when I was young. He said, always try to work harder than anybody outside of your race, because we're always at a disadvantage, right? So I say that to say this: work hard. Try to learn how to break bread with people that you have a prejudice against, and you assume that they have a prejudice against. Get to know their character, right? And the magic word of the whole thing is somewhere in the whole line of all the disagreements, you got to learn how to forgive. So work hard, try to love one another, try not to be judged by the color of your skin, but the content of your character, and just learn how to forgive people, man. I think if you add all of those for me, that does it for me right there.
Baller. Again, the question is what do you think are some ways or approaches to reduce prejudice and discrimination?
I think in the past several months, we've made steps to more or less open up a dialogue, whether it's a negative or it's a positive. But the bottom line is kind of sort of what the preacher was saying.
Baller, who's we? First off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You said we. Who's we?
Well, what the preacher was saying when I said we, because I kind of agree on the lines.
We as us, the podcast.
Oh, we as people.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to understand who we are. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But sort of kind of piggyback on what the preacher was saying, as far it's more of an education, and like I said, we've opened up sort of doors to start having dialogue, and again, I think Oso said it, or you said it, as far as it's actually, I think the preacher said it too. It's the generations going to come from behind us, to kind of keep pushing and pushing, even though the preacher called him a liar earlier. I think Obama opened the door for certain things, because I felt as though he could have did more, but he opened the door for that next generation to take that next level, and again, if we get the Senate, we get the state, the presidency, all the things are going to start unfolding for us, but, it's, again, it comes with education, and unfortunately, just like, even my grandmother said she would never thought she would see in her lifetime, who's 98, a Black president. So hopefully in our lifetime, we'll see some of these things dismissed, become dust, and we can take the next step, the next level to where we need to be.
Yep. Crooner. The question is, again, what are some approaches to reducing prejudice and discrimination?
It's easy. Just, love. And if we go further than that, love like a child. Have you ever see those little pictures when the kids come together hugging each other? They don't care what color they are. Yeah. But like it was been said throughout the entire podcast, it's to learn. It's to learn. Somebody say something. Hey, don't hug the white boy. Don't hug that Black child. And that's what happens. But you just love and treat people the way you want to be treated. That's what my mom and dad told me. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. And if everybody took that concept, it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting topic. And I'm not sure if people know how to treat people, though. That's go ahead, Donald. That's a problem.
We talk about education, right? Schools need to start telling the truth. there's an affirmation statement. I coach at an Afrocentric school. And the beginning of the affirmation statement is, we are descendants of great African mothers and great African fathers, right? The problem is, we as Black people don't have knowledge of self. We don't have knowledge of self, and we allow someone else to determine our wealth. The thing that Old Soul said that his father told him, all of our parents have told us that you have to work smarter and harder. In 2020, I still got to tell my kids to work smarter and harder. I still got to tell my kids to be respectful to police officers. In 2020, it's the same conversation they had in 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980. And until the people in power start dying off, and we start replacing those people with other people that look like us, we can't invoke change. But the school systems have to educate fair balance. Don't just tell me about Christopher Columbus, who, by the way, we know he did not discover America.
Right.
Come on, man. That's the problem, bro.
Carl, also.
I'm gonna jump on what Preacher said, something that he said that about the school system, because of course we all know our school background. And when I was going to high school, and when I was going to middle school, elementary school, in the books we were always told about Martin Luther King, right? It was pretty relevant, Martin Luther King. Okay, fine, I have a dream. I didn't get to know about Malcolm X until I got out of high school, when I was in college.
Yep.
Is when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And a reason why because the perception was that even though they both fought for civil rights, is that Martin Luther King was kind of passive and that Malcolm X was a hate monger. But in reality,
militant.
Okay, a militant. But in reality, what people don't know or didn't know at that time is that they adopted some of each other's philosophies attributes, thank you. So I'm saying that to reference what Preacher's saying is education, because if you listen to the education that's being taught to you in that system and don't seek it out yourself, there are things people have no idea of what we've been or what we've been involved with or what we've attributed to this contribute to this whole world. So like I said, I wanted to jump on that because as soon as he said it, it sparked to me. I didn't know nothing about Malcolm X till I got out of school.
Yeah. Interesting you say that. I didn't learn about Malcolm X until college as well. Read the autobiography. I think in order to reduce prejudice and discrimination, and even, I'll take it a step further, work towards, so those two probably lead towards eliminating, racism, right? The world has to acknowledge our history. Slavery existed, and until it is acknowledged, because not everybody acknowledges, slavery was so long ago. Yeah, but we still dealing with the issues the repercussions of slavery, right? All the laws, to the preacher's point, all the laws that are in place based on, those slave owners who owned us, they didn't write the Constitution in our favor, right? And so until there's acknowledgement of slavery and that it existed, I think you can't start, right? And that begins in the schools, in the history books. Like, that needs to be in the schools early in educating. Like, they didn't pass off, the Germans killing the Jewish population. They didn't pass off that history, right? They acknowledged it. But they don't do that in the U.S. They don't. It's like they're hiding this quote unquote secret, but it's no secret. Everybody knows slavery existed and laws are in place based on slavery existing, and those discriminatory systematic processes are in place because of slavery. So that's the first thing that needs to start. And then I was reading, here's something else, some additional things. Increasing intergroup contact, right? Like, we have to be, listen, I'll be honest, me being shipped off and going to Lincoln to go to school in a PWI, a predominantly white neighborhood, I'm a PWN. Listen, that helped me become more culturally sensitive to white people, right? Understanding them, you know, it gave me that opportunity to understand, right? And I say that to say this, that those reverse things need to happen where people need to come into our community or even within work, interact with them. Listen, there's some black people who don't have any white friends. I say it again. There are some black people who don't have any white friends.
That goes for both sides.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
No. Listen, I listen. I understand that. I understand that. Vice versa, right? There. You can take any nationality and say that. The point is that it's not the best way to live your life. You need to be culturally competent, culturally sensitive, and in order to do so, to get rid of these stereotypes. To the preacher's point, you know, we not all what James Evans, J.J. Walker, dynamite people, right? You got to get rid of those stereotypes. So how do you do that? Engage more. Yeah, also, I mean, Crooner.
You said something that I wasn't even going to go on to. You said the world. Now, you know, I did the Navy. I was in the Navy for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I've traveled a lot of countries. And believe this, there's blacks in every country I've traveled to. Mm-hmm. I saw black Chinese. I saw black Japanese. I saw blacks in Australia. You know, I saw blacks everywhere I went. And you know one thing? They treated them horribly.
Yeah.
Every last country, even in Mexico, they got a group of black Mexicans, and they are treated so bad because of the color of their skin.
The color of our skin is our sin, as Donald says.
No. We are the original man. We are the original Asian. That's why they're mad. They know that we are the original people. Adam and Eve is black. Noah married an Egyptian. No, I'm sorry. Moses married an Egyptian. Come on, man. Knowledge of self. They hate us because they ain't us.
So another thing is working to foster great empathy and perspective taking with interacting with others, right? Like, listen, I got some people on my block, man, and I'm like, I need to have like, there's about 3-4 black families on the block, and so you know the other majority are white families, and I'm sure I got some Trump supporters on our block, but I need to have some conversations. Just kind of, I think I need to open up conversation to just talk about things, right? Like engage in an open dialogue about issues of difference. And we need to do that in order to grow compassion, right? And dispel some of these stereotypes. So based on what I'm reading here, those are really good opportunities, right? For us to go out and I'm talking about us, right? Like white people, Asian, Indian, Latinx, right? Everyone should try and practice these things, right? So that we can, you know, get rid of a lot of these stereotypes. But to the preacher's point, you know, the older you are, the more difficult it is. It's the new generation, it's the younger generation that really will take the throne and move this forward. How do we continue to educate? And that is part of what we're doing here in this podcast. Look, we're not specialists in these things. These are our perspectives. This is the knowledge we have gained, and we're sharing it with you. I'm going to be including a video, as I mentioned, of Jeffrey Robinson from the ACLU. He has three part, I think it's a 3 or 4 part video. So I'll include links to all of them in the actual notes section at the bottom. I highly recommend you watch them. I will be kicking off a watch party for the first video. It is powerful. Prejudice, discrimination, and racism is our topic today. And we want to thank you so much for checking us out. And so, as I say 20 times, I'm becoming cognizant of it. I love you, my brothers, and to all of you watching us, we out. All right, we out, and we will see you next week. Peace, my brothers.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.